What's going on?
Hey,
How you
uh,
doing?
I'm I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's good to talk too.
Yeah, so awesome. So I've got Elle, the scientific snitch, back on, which that's such a cool name for what you do. Who came up with that? Was that you or your boyfriend that came up with that?
Neither. Actually, it was Redan Cage. I think that's his username. He came up with some crazy sounding boxer username for himself, and there was one time on live where he was like, you're always calling out really bad science. You shouldn't rename yourself Scientific Snitch. And at the time, I had a really like I was like low key a fan of like what's her name? Lean Beef Patty?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Lean
yeah,
Beef
yeah.
Patty. I had met her at a powerlifting competition earlier that year. And so my username was like Tough Turkey Meatball or something. And so
Does not flow as
so
good.
yeah, so I decided to like rebrand, I guess, at that time. Just because it was like, I
Yeah.
don't know, name's already taken, why not just go with something else?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I want to talk to you a lot about just content creation and stuff too, because obviously you're killing it. And last time we talked, we kind of went into some specific stuff. This time, let's go on and catch up. We'll catch a couple topics, but what's going on? You were last time I talked to you. What was it? You had just graduated. Are you in post-secondary education right now, or what's your plans? What are you doing right now?
Yeah, I'm currently pursuing my master's degree. In the program I'm in, I basically can just integrate from master's into PhD. That's like my plan. Um, just getting your master's is kind of like getting your foot in the door, and then you can just shift over, transfer all your credits. It's like an integrated program basically.
So
Um,
you had some time off. Did you take off a semester, or no? You went.
nah,
Okay,
nah,
I
I
thought
went,
so.
I dove straight into it, yeah.
Somewhere different, or is it the same school?
Oh, somewhere different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been staying away from like saying the names of my schools
Yeah,
online now.
yeah, maybe,
Yeah,
maybe
I've
that's.
been getting some weird stuff going on, so I just been a little more private, I guess.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Um,
Especially as a chick, like I see with my son and my daughter, like there's so many things like I don't even think about, and then like I'm like, oh shit, like I have a daughter, like I would handle that way different, or I think about them way different.
yeah, I think it was a little
Especially because you get
different
weird
when,
weirdos that they seem to really like to
oh
hate
yeah.
you.
I also think it's just a little different once you start getting to be a little bit of a larger, like when you're in that growing phase, because I feel like right now I'm in that growing phase of like I'm still getting like around 1,000 followers or at least 500 followers every single week or so. So my account's been still growing very fast. And so with that, I get a lot of hate from the people who I call out, and that can come with some pretty weird people.
Yeah.
So I've been a little more wary about like the things that I guess say and do.
So this is some stuff I was going to jump into just a second, but since you brought it up, one of the questions I was curious about is you do call out a lot of people, and I do too. I kind of that's one of the things I respect about you. Like with the mic thing, like there were people that I would think would maybe call him out that weren't. And I was like, come on, like what the fuck? But whose fans are the worst? Whose fans are giving you the most vitriol, like unnecessary, stupid like remarks? Because it's always cool to like
Um,
have someone debate you if they actually have a point that you can talk to, but I feel like you probably don't
yeah.
get that much at all.
I would say probably the Dr. Mike fans are pretty like they're pretty bad. And then I would say any fans of like carnivore influencers, those guys are like, oh my God, they're so bad.
Is that
It's
cooling
just
down a little bit? Like I don't have my finger to the pulse of everything. Like it seemed like that was pretty big a while ago. Is that starting to die down a little bit, or is it still picking up steam?
right now, it's almost as though like like when you have something boiling in a pot and it starts to condense and turn into like a really concentrated sugary syrup. Yeah, that's what it feels like right now because now you have all of the really extremist carnivores in like these little huddles all over the internet spewing their bull crap. And I'm just sitting there like whenever I call them out, you have this like very sticky, condensed syrup of people coming at you, and it's not fun.
Do they try to use a bunch of like science with you? I would assume that from their point, they're probably arguing things that they think, will make sense scientifically. Like what do they try to use to support the? Is it science based, or are they just using how they feel normally?
A lot of it is how they feel. I would say, namely, a lot of it is name calling. Na like
Like for you, like
despite,
what
yeah,
do you get called? I'm assuming just girl.
oh,
Like
little
like
girl, girl,
how old are you, by the way?
child,
Like
brat. I'm 23.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it's full grown adult woman. Being called like little brat, little
Do you get that from
girl.
women ever? I mean, I know it's dudes like all the
No,
time. You never had a woman do that?
never actually. I've only ever had it from carnivore guys.
Just carnivore guys?
Really.
Never had Dr. Mike guys do it?
I've had a few of Dr. Mike guys actually. The big jacked, the big jacked gym bros. I've had some. The thing that got me to like be more private about my life was when I went to the Arnold last year, or not last year. It's not even 2026. Earlier this year, I went down because somebody like bought me and Jackson tickets, and it was a really nice guy. He's like the owner of a supplement company, so we were going down there. Some dude was like following us around the gym, and he took a photo of us and posted it to his story. And I was like, "That's okay. That's it. I'm not doing this anymore."
What would he say? He didn't approach y'all at all? He just took a picture? Like
No,
what did they say? Anything
it
or just
he basically just said like something along the lines of like practice what you preach. I had just finished like recovering from my rib surgery too, so it was like I was small as hell. Just getting back into the benching and all that other stuff. And he takes a photo and he's like, "You practice what you preach. This is what happens when you're a science-based lifter." Meanwhile, I'm literally like looking around like just relaxed. And it's like, dude, like how in like I don't even know how to describe it. That's like incel behavior.
yeah, no, I'm assuming they come out in full force, when it's
Yeah.
a chick. Like, do you ever worry that you get exposed to just too much like negativity? I mean, I know you get tons of positive stuff too, but like anyone, we tend to hear more of the negative stuff. You ever worry like that's going to have like a negative impact on you, or you feel like not so much?
Sometimes. When it comes to like some of the carnivore like people who are more on like the doctoral end, that worries me because a lot of the carnivores on that end, they are in academia, so they can have a negative impact on my career if they were to really go at me. Um, that said, everything that I say, like that's the reason why I pull up sources and stuff, is like I know everything I'm saying is backed by research. So I'm not, that's like I am worried, and then I remember that I cite my
Like,
sources, and then I'm like, okay, I'm not that worried anymore.
do
Um,
you have any
yeah.
regrets at all about anyone that you went after? Maybe like looking back on it, or you feel like not really?
Not really. I mean, I've started like there's a few things I said back in 2020 that I might be correcting because I actually have different opinions now.
Yeah.
Um, but everything that I've said recently, I want to say 2023 onward, after I took like the first few biology classes and I got more in depth and like I had an undergraduate education, like I actually knew what I was talking about. After that, all of my information kind of stayed very consistent to the point where I feel like I'm repeating myself all the time. Um, so I've, if anything, like my beliefs from 2023 onward have been more solidified based off of what I've learned so far. But 2023, pre-2023, I need to correct some things.
Is that like I don't know. I'm kind of curious, like from more of the scientist perspective. Like I guess maybe that's easier in some ways to like kind of say you did something wrong. Like there's new evidence or you understand things a little bit better because I guess as a scientist you don't really have any emotional attachment to anything. Or is it difficult just because of social media? Like if you think that there's something you gotta correct or you change your mind, is there part of you that's like shit? I don't want to say this because everyone's gonna give me a bunch of shit now.
Uh, I'm gonna be honest. Unlike the whole Mike Isertel thing, I'm very happy to correct myself when I'm wrong. I actually enjoy it. I think it's really fun to stitch yourself and then be like, "Hey guys, I got this wrong. Here's what the correct thing was." I think I've reposted the same telomere correction like 5 times now because I
Correcting the
actually
correction
enjoy
or just the same repeating the same one?
the corrected version. So
Yeah,
like I stitched myself.
I
So
saw that. Yeah.
I love those kinds of videos. I think it's really that's what science is all about is like correcting when you're wrong. Even like as I'm like pursuing my master's degree now, like you see a lot of data that just doesn't it's not fruitful. Like it doesn't give you anything, but all data is data. And like even if you get a negative result, it still tells you something about physiology, which I think is really interesting. So I'm not I don't think I would ever be upset about like correcting myself. Um and like it's at the end of the day, that's being somebody on social media who's also in STEM. It's kind of your duty to correct yourself and walk back on things that you were wrong about.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that's the real approach. Someone who's trying to get into education and be doing the research thing. I mean, that's what you want to do, right? You just want to like
Yeah.
dive into research. Ugh, that sounds terrible. What are you trying to like? What's the field that you're trying to really like dive into and nerd out on, like specifically?
Um, Muscle wasting, specifically pancreatic cancer associated cachexia. I think I told you this last time, but I
Yeah, I was
lost
wondering.
somebody to that disease, and so that's I'm in a lab for it now, and I plan to go throughout my entire life, probably going towards that area. I know like Jackson was talking to me about doing some hypertrophy literature on that. Just because you can, with muscle wasting, you can bridge some gaps between like the traditional exercise science bros and then like physiology
Yeah.
in terms of biomed. And so I hope that maybe one day I can bridge the gap a little bit more because right now there is a huge gap in quality, and I'd like to try to close that a little bit if I can.
Yeah. What about just in general? Is there anything that you're getting into right now? I think that do you have time, like with school and stuff? Like what's some topics that you're kind of like finding interesting right now? Or are you just focused on content in school? You don't really have time to let your brain roam on and learn new stuff outside of what you're doing in school.
Well, really interestingly enough, a lot of the things that I'm learning in school right now cross over into a lot of the things that I've spoken about. So like for example, like fatigue mechanisms pertaining to like calcium handling and stuff like that. Like the buildup of adipose tissue around muscle, like all of those things are really big topics in cachexia. Not like going into any specifics, obviously, because I don't have any data to publish. I'm kind of just looking into it, but those seem to be pretty interesting topics in the current literature. So a lot of it's relating to a lot of the things I've already spoken about in terms of exercise science. So it's kind of cool to see how some of those topics can branch over into biomed. Yeah.
So with your research and I would say a little bit more like, I don't know, like established like real fields and with the Dr. Mike stuff, like I was like, what is your perspective on the whole, exercise science now? Now everybody's kind of like, up in the air, like how valuable is every single study that we do? Like what are we really looking to find? Like what is your perception on just exercise science in general and how maybe we could utilize it better as far as the studies actually are concerned?
That's a really good question. I would say that there are labs in exercise science that are fantastic. There was one laboratory that I was like, I was volunteering in during my last year in undergrad. Not going to say the specific name of the laboratory, but they were doing a lot of insulin resistance work and like type 2 diabetes type things. But they were an exercise science lab and they were amazing. And one of my professor's labs, her lab was amazing. Um, Actually, all of my professors at UMich, they had amazing labs and they did really high quality work. Like when you look through their publications, you can see the rigor behind the methodology and they weren't cutting corners. With some of the exercise science literature that I've seen come out of social media specifically, a lot of it cuts a lot of corners. So, like for example, I'll run through a meta-analysis by some like social media exercise scientist, and I'll find predatory journals. And that's a big no-no. You're
So
not
what is
supposed
that?
to.
I'm confused. I don't know shit. What is
Oh,
that?
predatory journals. So basically, they ask the author to pay them to publish, and then they don't
Okay.
really do a good peer review. So you'll catch spell check errors. You'll see weird flaws in their methodology where they're like testing two variables at once. So they
Yeah.
have two independent variables testing against like four different dependent ones. Um, so like those sorts of things, or like they'll use the wrong statistical test. You can see p hacking, which is basically all like choosing a smaller sample size for one of your groups, so that way the statistical significance is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Um, so all of these little like irks and flaws and things that you shouldn't find in high quality literature are not only being found in these sorts of studies, but they're being found in the meta-analysis by the social media scientist to promote a narrative, which I think is a really big problem because you shouldn't see p hacking and you shouldn't see like such bad like I there was one paper that I found in a meta-analysis by a social media exercise scientist that had the word pack fly instead of peck fly. And they spelled all the exercises as the slang version. So like lat pull down instead of like just a pull down.
That's funny.
So That's what I mean by like the quality kind of dies down when you exit more formal exercise science spaces and then you kind of enter into the social media realm where everybody's trying to confirm their bias. And I think that's a really big problem because you should let data lead you to the conclusion, not the other way around.
Yeah. Um, what about like with these studies? A lot of like, what are your thoughts on EMGs and just in general? Like, I've heard like a lot of people say good things or bad things about them as far as what they're trying to prove in their studies. What are your thoughts about using EMGs in these studies?
I think EMG is a really helpful tool. It's just important to acknowledge the limitations of it. Specifically, I think I've said this a few times, but like with surface EMG, thinner muscles, they're going to have a little bit of a harder time. So even with like something like the rec fem, which is fairly thick, you still get some background noise from the vasti muscles, which is why something like, for example, like a leg press, where you have a lot of that antagonist, what is it? Antagonist inhibition within the same muscle because you're not only you're doing the hip movement as well as the knee movements. So you're not really shortening your rectus femoris. So mostly it's your vasti muscles taking up a lot of the work. Um, you're still going to see a decent amount of activation of the rec fem because you catch some of the activation from the vasti muscles too. It's just catching electrical signals. So you get an idea of what's activated. But you need additional data, first of all. And then, second of all, you need noise reducers. That way, like, you need some way to reduce the noise from the other muscles. That way, you know what you're looking at is actually there and not just some other muscle interfering. Um, and then I think there was one more thing, which was, what was it that I was going to say? Oh, yeah, it doesn't necessarily tell you what's going to grow, it just kind of tells you what's active.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about because a lot of times aren't they using these to tell you like what should grow? Like hypothetically, I mean, it seems like it'd be hard to do, but in my, I guess it seemed like the way to do that would be to see the tissue over time somehow. I mean, obviously there's a ton of variables you can't account for. So it's like you could have like a really crazy isometric contraction and that would read really high on an EMG and not be the same as far as producing muscle growth. Is that right?
Uh, Yes and no. I mean, if you have a lot, the idea is that you have a lot of like pulling force within the muscle. So a really hard isometric would still elicit growth. It would just be really incredibly hard to progress on that because it's very heavy and you're going to be holding that for a pretty long time. Um, so like, I mean, as you said, it's a hypothetical. It's not a definitive. It's a hypothetical, and you'll still need more data to confirm. And then also, oh, that's what I was going to say. Clinical relevance is a big one. The difference between statistical significance and clinical relevance is really big because s- statistical significance is your p-value is less than whatever your alpha significance level is. That's not telling you if something is necessarily growing to a significant extent that you can see visually, and it's not telling you if it's just like it's telling you the difference between two variables, not which variables are specifically there. So if you have other muscles contributing noise, that's a problem. And it doesn't tell you what's growing either. It's just telling you there's a difference between the activation.
I mean, how do you see it progressing? Like, where do you see the direction of exercise science going? Because I don't see anything. I mean, I don't pay attention, so maybe I'm missing, but I don't see anything like ground, like, it's nothing that's gonna make me change anything in the last recent years. I haven't seen anything that's come out that I'm like, oh, well, now that changes my paradigm. I thought totally different. Like, where do you see it going in the future? Or do you see it kind of just, unfortunately, kind of ruminating the way it is now with the social media kind of stuff?
There's a few really good scientists out there that have been doing really amazing work. I have a few friends that are in exercise science, who are also doing really amazing work. One of them, his name's Dakota. He's got some pretty good work. Even though I do think that there is some bias that still exists, and that's always going to be there. Everybody has a bias. I have a bias. You have a bias. Every scientist out there has a bias. It's whether or not we let that bias affect our work, which is what is really important. And I think that the scientists that don't let their bias affect their work, they're going to be in it for the long game. They're going to actually make some really good work out of like exercise science, while the ones who just do it for social media and their H index, they're kind of going to be left in the dust. And everybody's going to see their work and nobody's going to like it. And that's what I also see is the friends that I have. So another friend of mine, um, I hope that it's okay if I say his name online because he's also on social media.
I'm sure
Uh,
you'd probably like it, yeah, if you're
yeah,
saying
his name's
it.
Jeff. Jeff has like he recognizes that there's good and bad exercise scientists
Was this
and
the highway guy? The highway
highway guy.
analogy? The cars on the highway?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay, yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw you do that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really smart guy and he's also in the field and he can recognize the difference between the good and bad exercise scientists. And what happens is that nobody who's good cites the bad exercise scientists. So it's like,
It's just people on Instagram.
yeah, you're basically shooting yourself in the foot by just confirming your own bias and not actually trying to move the field forward.
Yeah.
And I think that those people will get left behind ultimately. So I'm not too worried about it. But right now, yeah, it definitely doesn't look too great, especially if you're not like really keeping up with some of the new literature coming out. Um, and I guess like as far as like activation goes, it's also important to know that authors are always going to prop up their work so they get it published. So they're always going to say it's the most significant, the best finding ever, because that's the only way they get accepted into a journal, is it has to be within like in some journals, the top 25% of articles that the reviewers have ever read. So they have to make it sound extravagant and very clinically relevant.
Sounds kind of like counter to what being a scientist is.
Yeah.
What it's just, yeah, like we're talking about, like, I just don't know. There's so many, like, all the things you want to know from exercise science. I feel like you're never really gonna have definitive answer through a study. Like, everything's so different. What I would be curious, and maybe, I mean, I'm sure they haven't done it exactly the way, but have you ever heard of anything where they like just take people, like, I would look at their ISA, their infrasternal angle, but like, it'd be cool to have like two different structure types of people do something, because you get all this overlay when you just get the random people and you have people that have totally different structures, different levers, different expansion, compression gradients they're creating. So I think that'd be kind of cool to get like a really extreme, like wide ISAs and then really extreme narrow ISAs and like compare and see what you get there. I think that's a little bit more slightly reliable because there's a little bit less variability. But are there any studies like that? Have anyone done stuff similar at all that you're aware of?
So like are you talking about like um comparative analyses of anatomy? Like in terms
Like
of like
during lifts, like just see what is recruited like most if you're using the EMG kind of stuff they're doing, but just parse it out even more and get some structure types out because I feel like that would remove a little bit of the variability. It's still gonna be wild variability, but I'm just
uh I actually don't think that it would. So the problem is that when you're moving, your muscles shift underneath your skin. And so you can have your EMG probe in one area, but maybe like when you move your arm back here, now it's more so on your pec. Now it's not on your like shoulder anymore. So now you're getting activation from your pec, even though this could be active. So you would have to have a probe that's moving with your shoulder. And I do know that there is some intramuscular EMG like that you can do where you have a pin inside your muscle. It isn't accurate right now, but I could see that like that technology going a little further, maybe advancing soon. And if that advances, I could see that being like the new thing for like I guess kinematic type EMG or like movement EMG where you're actually moving. Um, because right now surface EMG is just kind of limited by that. So like if you put the probe on your lat and you lift your arm up, well, now it's in a completely different spot because it was on your skin. So there's that limitation there too.
yeah, like I said, I think we're using it to try to like extrapolate stuff that it won't exactly do, but I mean it gives you stuff you can infer. Like I don't think it's useless,
Yeah.
but I've never heard of anything in no study that I've seen anytime recent where I'm like I should change something about what I do. And a lot of times when people do that, then the other one comes out that says, "Oh, actually we fucked that up. It's the other way." I love that one. Which is like the
Yeah.
volume thing right now, isn't that like what's going on? I felt like high volume was this, like that's what the study said. Let's do as many work sets as possible, and now it's like as little as possible.
Yeah, I don't think it's as much or as little. I think it's a balance of both. I think it's a the priority should be at intensity. And if you prioritize intensity, you're not going to get a crap ton of volume. Like that's just not going to happen. You're not doing 5 sets to failure and feeling okay to do your next exercise. Like that's not happening. If you go like actually to failure, you're not doing more than like 2 or 3 sets before you want to move on to the next exercise.
Yeah, I mean maybe
Um,
yeah, even if you're doing singles, yeah. I mean, I can
yeah.
hit truly like depending on if it's like a single joint, I can definitely hit two sets, but like real failure for like a compound thing, like I can do one and then I won't have the same level to do it again for sure. And
Yeah, even as somebody who's like, because a lot of women, they do have a little bit more endurance, and I also just, I genetically have a lot of endurance. I used to run. Even I can't do more than like three. And that's like the maximum. And I usually do two. And then if I'm feeling up for it, I'll do three. But either which ways, you're not doing like five, six sets to failure. Like that's just not going to happen. You're going to be gassed and you're
yeah,
not going to want to do your next exercise. So volume clearly isn't necessarily the king. And clearly, intensity has always been the thing that most people prioritize and the thing that helps people grow because you're not progressively overloading if you're keeping it at the same intensity, regardless of how much volume you're doing. So that's I like that's the pinnacle there is like I if you combine so something I don't emphasize enough and I wish I did is that it's not about outcomes versus mechanisms, it's about outcomes and mechanisms because that's how you get a conclusion. You can't do it with either or, but yeah.
I was curious too. You were talking about the kind of like the shittier studies. It made me think I was going to ask you later about AI too. It's like I feel like that kind of stuff really has a negative impact as people become more and more, like, I guess some people are dependent on AI now, but as people just use it more and more, I mean, a lot of times we'll just grab those studies and whatever is being touted and spoken as true as saying this is it, and like now that'll say this study is 100% true, and someone will confidently spout that, and then it just gets regurgitated and picked up more by the AI thing, however it does it, and like now we have stuff that's comes off as absolute fact to a lot of people when if you like trace it all the way back, you see like okay, well originally it was like shitty kind of study to begin with. Like as a scientist, do you like what are the negative ramifications? What are some of the negative things you can see coming with AI in terms of like just in general, but then also like the health and fitness kind of area?
So first, as far as like AI goes, I actually do my best not to use AI because it does use a lot of water to cool down the computers, and it's a big waste, and it's like not good for the environment. So I do my best not to use AI in general for my work, for whatever I'm doing. The second thing is yes, AI is like an overconfident high schooler that doesn't actually know what they're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's got to be some things that are like so like cement in the world in the realm that maybe it just it's out straight facts. But I feel like with like especially with stuff like the ECM, like it'll tell me things I'm like, bro, like you got the
Yeah.
fundamental framework fucking wrong that you just did all this for. So I don't know. I definitely feel like for a lot of the stuff that we want to know and for the more stuff that we're trying to push and learn, it's not the best source of
Yeah, you kind of have to know what you're already talking about so you can correct
100%.
AI.
It's like being a tutor.
And
What I've felt like is when I've used it, I felt like I was a tutor to like a smart student who would randomly just be stupid as fuck. Like-
yep, that's pretty accurate actually.
Sorry, so I interrupted you. So keep going. What are your overall thoughts on this?
Oh no, you didn't interrupt me. But yeah, that was pretty much my entire thought was that AI is an overconfident high schooler that doesn't really know what it's talking about. Um, I don't really like the use of AI because it gives people a sense of like false confidence. Somebody sent me a video where somebody stitched me using AI, and I caught like three different mistakes on three separate occasions. Um, and it was a disaster. So like AI gives people false confidence. I'll have people commenting literal AI responses in my comment section to try and refute me.
How can you
And,
tell? People say that all the time. I'm so stupid. I don't pay attention. How can you tell it's AI? Do they have like the
uh,
hyphen? They keep the little hyphen in there.
honestly, I use the hyphen. Like I actually use it in my writing, so it's like it's very. I get really frustrated because a lot of people say I'm using AI, but I genuinely just use the hyphen too much. It's a really bad habit of mine.
It's like a
But
tone.
it's mainly the dots. So like you'll see like here's everything you need to know about X, colon, this dot, this dot, this dot, this dot, this dot, this dot, and then it'll have like a little green like check mark or something. And I'm like, that's 100%
Oh
AI.
yeah.
It'll be this
At
giant
least take
block
that
of text.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. So what do you think are some of the things we need to worry about in the health and fitness industry in general? Just kind of the similar thing, or how can you see it like leading someone astray potentially?
Ooh. So I guess something I would say is like a lot of the confirmation bias bros. That's what I like to call them. Whether it's the people on the one end where they're all in hypothetical land, where they literally can't do it, they hate anything that has to do with outcomes, or outcome guys who literally just conduct studies to confirm their own bias. Um, I could see the social media influence of those two parties influencing AI to respond in a certain way, which would not be good. Because then you're either getting really hypothetical, like if let's say somebody asks about neuromechanical matching or something, something very, very niche, something that hasn't been fully routed out or understood in the literature. I could see that being extrapolated as fact by the AI and told to the person, like, hey, yeah, this is XYZ and this is how you can apply it to your training. And that's not entirely true because it doesn't apply to all muscles. And then the same thing goes for, like, let's say the whole volume thing. I could see it taking something from, like, let's say, um, I don't know, one of those articles on volume, one of those like 700-page long disaster pieces, and then extrapolating, hey, you need all this volume, do this. Or heck, I could see AI grabbing something from like a Dr. Mike Isertel 100 set workout video and then pushing that to people. And that would not be good.
It'd be cool if there was like, I know you can set it to do this, but it'd be cool if it was just not so like confirming. If it was like more like skeptic, you know, you can make the AI like, okay, well, they'll now tell me why people think that's ri ridiculous, and like give you a little bit of both sides. And I mean, some people do that. Like whenever I'm like, if there's a topic I'm talking about, I'm trying to get a perspective from all angles, but it's like, man, like 10% of the time, I'm just like, okay, well, that's totally wrong. And if you're somebody who didn't know this at all, like it's wrong in the sense that it's flipped. So it's gonna like fucking put you worse positions than you're trying to get in. So yeah, I think for certain things, it's just almost better. Like if you're not knowledgeable with it, to like stick with what's established or like look to someone who's a true authority. I know that sounds terrible to say right now after everything, but somebody who you can, you know, they know what they're talking about a little bit, because it is cool as a tool, like knowing that like I got to be on my toes and not to really expect to get some new concept to kind of flesh out things a little bit. So you don't use it at all? Is there anything that you could see yourself using it for in research? I mean, I'm sure it's like helpful for research purposes.
Uh, Honestly, it's not that helpful for research purposes. I use a feed reader, which basically notifies me whenever there's a new article under a certain
Oh,
like search.
that's cool.
That's a lot easier for me to like manage because then I get alerted every time there's a new article on a specific topic, which is really helpful. Um, and I think the only time I use AI really is for Grammarly and like what is it? Authenticate. So like making sure that my papers and the things I'm writing don't look like they were plagiarized because that is a little bit of a problem when you have over 1 million papers out there.
Yeah.
Your literature review could look like it sounds like somebody else's, even though you never even read it in your life. And that's just by the nature of like how science works. So like for example, in cancer cachexia research, pretty much every article starts off with 80% of cancer patients have cachexia, 20% of them die by it. Like literally every single review has that. Now, let's say you continue that line down and your review sounds similar to another person's. You could be like literally marked as plagiarizing even though you're not. So it's kind of like the problem with like music nowadays where something can sound similar, but it's really not. It's just the person was like they thought they had the same thought process going.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I guess at your level, it's probably not a big deal. Like I know I have clients who have kids that are like undergrads, and it's like for the profession stuff. It's got to be a pain in the ass now to have AI as a thing when these kids are turning in papers and stuff. Do they have a way to check for that? Do you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's so cool. So basically, you can see the paper being written
Oh,
as it's
okay.
like going
Oh,
through. So
yeah, I get that. Yeah,
nowadays,
yeah.
yeah, nowadays it's a lot better. But if you use like a research authenticate, it's a little different. It's not like telling you whether or not it was made by AI. It's more so telling you whether or not your paper looks like somebody else's. That way you can change a few things.
Yeah, sweet. So, let's talk about some more social media, just content creation, content stuff. So, um, you're always, like we said, kind of like calling out people for saying stupid things. What would you say is the let's go two. Let's say like what is the stupidest myth that you see people talk about, and then what's like the most prevalent myth that you see like people mistakenly believe in your opinion?
That's such a hard question. Oh gosh. let's see. The worst
I mean, I see
myth.
you go off a lot about the racial stuff with Mike. Maybe that's your stupidest, but I don't know if you think something else is more stupid.
I don't think that it's I don't think it's I don't know if I would call it stupid as much as I would call it misinformed. Um and just harmful in general. So I definitely think it's harmful. I don't think that it's like stupid because on surface level I could see a lot of people falling for it because it's so ingrained in our society that it's like it's hard to call it stupid when like there's not a lot of education on it. So it's something that I can't really blame people for falling for, which is why I make so many videos on it is because I want to educate people on that. Um I think I would say the stupidest one I see people fall for is raw milk.
See, I was a raw milk guy back in the day. I wasn't
It's
basing it off of anything, but I
so
liked
bad.
it. I did drink some a little bit of raw milk. That's when I was doing my whole paleo kick, and yeah, I acknowledged while I was doing, it, I was like, I'm just I'm just doing this to see. I don't know anything, so I never had anything terrible happen to me, but I never did much. I don't like milk in general. So what's the thing with that? I mean, people think that it's better than pasteurized because of like it's like less inflammatory. Is that what it is? I can't even remember what they were saying back in the day when I was doing it.
So there's a few different like arguments that people bring up for it. All of them literally suck. Uh, the first one was a Gabriella study. It's basically the idea that it's going to improve your immune response and allergies. The problem with that study is that they didn't actually use raw milk, they used farm milk. So the antigens and the like pathogens and the things that were being exposed to kids on the farm, they were being like the kids were being exposed through the milk, but the milk was pasteurized. So it kind of goes against their whole entire claim is that raw
Yeah.
milk is the thing that's doing it. Then there is the idea that raw milk has a better micronutrient profile. Unfortunately, unless you're getting vitamin C from your milk, which nobody is, there's literally no difference in the amount of minerals or vitamins. In fact, one vitamin that you can get from actual milk in general, that is something you can absorb, vitamin A, increases in bioavailability when you pasteurize it. So you actually get the opposite effect. You get better nutrition from the pasteurization. Then the other one is that it's not causing any illness. So, fun statistic, around 1 to 3% of the population in America drinks raw milk, and it causes 95% of milk-related foodborne illness. So that's like okay, increased risk. Now, if we look at the prevalence of these pathogens on the food itself, you have about 4,000, I believe 4,700 or 4,100% increased risk according to two studies. I could send them over to you on prevalence of these pathogens on vegetables versus raw milk. So 4,100 to 4,700% increased risk when you move from lettuce to raw milk. And this is for E. coli 0157H7, which is known to cause hemolytic uremic syndrome, which can cause kidney failure. So there's that. And then there's also a slew of other pathogens, including Brucella, which can lead you to getting your heart valves replaced. Campylobacter jejuni, which is found in a healthy cow's gut microbiome. So even if the cow looks sick, it'll still have it. Or sorry, even if the cow looks healthy, it'll still have Campylobacter jejuni because it's a part of the gut microbiome of a healthy cow and can cause you to get Guillain-Barré syndrome, which can lead you to being paralyzed. Like one case study, Mary Tardif, who ended up being paralyzed from the waist down, can't walk, and is now in $1 million in medical debt. So
Are these
there's
mainly
that.
like skinny hippie chicks now that are into the raw milk, or what? Or are there still like big giant dudes that all they do it? Or I feel like it's more hippie chicks.
There's this one guy on. He is so dead set on like I did you see the debate that I have with had with Revival Fitness?
No, I saw like just clips of it. I didn't watch the thing though, but yeah, that wasn't about
Yeah.
milk, right? What was that about?
No, that was about the whole bulking and cutting thing,
Yeah,
except
yeah.
I guess he got so uptight that I don't know, talked my shit or whatever, that he has been nonstop making content whenever he gets the chance on me, including on the Dr. Mike Israetel thing, even though I vehemently disagree with Dr. Mike, on basically everything. So he drinks raw milk from what I've seen and heard. And so he is, I guess, he's one of the people who are a part of that crazy group of people who drink raw milk.
Cool. Y'all good?
Everything okay?
Yeah.
Yep, we're good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You just froze. I mean, yeah. So I heard you were talking about revival, and and I mean, I had
Yeah.
you know Alberto, right? Alberto Nunez.
Uh, no, I don't.
Yeah, he actually had a question for you. Well, I'll ask you later. But yeah, I did a roundtable with he was on the roundtable I did with GVS and Angus and Atlas, and I've had him on the podcast before. He's a natural pro. He's a great dude. I mean, one of the best things about doing this is like, I mean, online is never going to be like my main money at all. I do like way too
Mhm.
good and have too much fun in person, but it's allowed me to meet such cool thinkers, and he's got such a cool brain. He thinks really cool. But he was going to have he asked if I would moderate a little debate between him and Revival, and Revival like never. He didn't want any of it, I guess. He's like no response at
Oh
all.
yeah. Yeah, what I was saying, I guess, before was that like the people who drink raw milk aren't really skinny chicks as you would expect. It's actually mainly the really like the extremely obnoxious gym bros. Like not normal gym bros who are like nice to be around because I most of my friends are gym bros. Like it's they're nice. My partner is a gym bro. In fact, I called him that and I scared him the first time I met him. Um, because like he drove like 500 miles and the first thing I say, "Hi, bro." But jokes aside, it's really like it's the kind of people who you don't want to be around. So it's those kinds of people, the ones who are just very obnoxious.
So luckily, I think like I don't think that's a prevalent thing. Like not many people are drinking raw milk. They're not go-madding raw milk. But like what is something that you see pretty prevalent that people tend to believe that you think is kind of incorrect?
I think that would be the race thing,
Yeah.
is something that a lot of people they want to believe, but it's not true. And I would put that on the same level with the whole entire you need to gain fat to gain muscle. But I would say that the race problem is more of an issue. Honestly, if somebody wants to, like as I said with GVS, like if you want to gain fat, I don't care. But that being said, like the whole race thing is what leads to like organ mismatches and like wrong transplants. And there's a higher proportion of people who get the wrong organ because it's so predicated on race right now. And a lot of doctors will keep it predicated on race. When in reality, your HLA type, yeah, it can be loosely associated with race and loosely associated with your ethnicity, but there's still like if you go to like the African continent, there's such a large amount of diversity that it's very easy to, okay, this person's from Africa. We're going to give them this organ because they're African. Oh, wait, no, it's the wrong HLA type because everybody there is so diverse and they all have a different HLA type.
So it's not just
Um,
standard practice to look at that?
it is standard practice to look at that, but it's predicated a lot on race and ethnicity because there is a loose association. Like because when you have people who are in the same area, yes, distance does matter. It does matter, like in terms of like how far away are you genetically. However, ancestry doesn't correlate with race very well. And HLA like haplotype is one of those things that is like technically ancestry. So it doesn't always correlate very well with who they actually are. So if you take somebody native to Africa and you try to transplant an organ from an African American, you might have some pretty nasty outcomes.
And then, so like in the US though, right? You got to do all kinds of tests right here, right? Like they got to do all kinds of stuff to see if you won't reject it, right? They're basing off of a wider way of things, right?
Yeah, they typically do. However, there is a disproportionate amount of mismatched organs in those who are ethnically African, Indian, and South Asian because of all the admixture that occurs there. So you need somebody who's basically your sibling. So that's why they usually go to siblings first and they go to family members first because it's a far like lesser risk when going to like, okay, let's go through the Oregon registry and see like based on race because you don't always know the HLA haplotype.
Yeah.
So that is a problem, and it's the reason why there is like a disproportionate amount of mismatches.
Yeah, that would fucking suck for sure. If you're waiting on your
Yeah.
fucking thing and then someone gives it to you based off of something that doesn't make that much sense. So yeah, so talking about content creation, are you still doing mainly the short stuff? Have you done long form now? I know you were talking about it. You probably don't have fucking time.
Yeah, I really want to get into long form. It's just so difficult because I'm so particular with how I edit that like I have a video that's been sitting in my drafts for like literally 3 months. Um, and I still haven't gotten it out. It's a really good video, but I can't, I need to edit it. It's basically a literature review on the whole bulking and cutting thing. I know that's like it's old. That's how old it is. It's like 3 months old. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it why you kind of chilled. I mean, you probably got sick of talking about it for a while, but yeah, I think that's good to have, like just something you can refer back to. That's just a long form thing where you kind of go through it, all the questions anyone would have anyway.
Yeah, it was actually a very, I wish I had the time to edit it because I go through, I think, 10 different studies and I actually go through like the flaws in them, which I think would be much needed.
Yeah,
I
just
also
to help think
press,
the process of
yeah.
learning how to look at studies. Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of like go through like what my exclusion criteria would be like if I was actually doing like a literature review, stuff like that. So I go through a lot of the literature and it's a good video. I wish I had the time to edit it, but like not gonna lie, I'm swamped with PCR.
Yeah.
That's a laboratory
Yeah.
technique. And it's just you're basically filling 96 little wells on a dish and then you're putting it into a machine. So
Yeah, that sounds so boring. I can't believe you want to do that shit. But I'm glad. I mean,
it's fun.
oh man, that's funny. So, like when you're trying to come up with content, like how do like are you thinking of most stuff? Do you kind of take feedback from people, answer questions that they're doing, like when you're putting together one of your IGs or your TikToks?
A lot of the times it's people who tag me and stuff. That seems to be the easiest content that I can make right now is a lot of the reactive stuff. I don't like I don't always like doing it, but it's like something that it needs to be done first of all. Like there's a ton of bad information out there. I had some woman saying that the cure to cancer was the quantum physics of a mitochondria, and I'm like, oh God. So like it needs to be done. And I put that as priority because like getting rid of misinformation and correcting it is like it's the reason why I'm on social media in the first place. So that comes first. Then after that, I'll do like some promotional stuff for like either Breathe Divinity or like Audentia. And then after that, I just kind of do my own stuff for like short form shit posting.
Do you do so it's like everything's online. You don't do anything in person, right? As far as like coaching or anything.
I do some like I do help with some online coaching with my partner Jackson.
But yeah, but
Um,
everything's online, like in person wise. You don't, and then you're doing tons of research. You're in class though, so you're around a bunch of people in class. Well, probably not that much, right? I feel like you're always like
I have
doing
a
doing
TA.
something like with your brain and not a lot of people around you.
That's actually that is actually not entirely true. I do TA, so I
Okay, oh,
have
that's
classes
cool.
that I teach.
Man, what is your schedule like? It sounds fucking gnarly.
Oh, it is gnarly. I usually get up around like 5:30 on weekdays. And so like this morning I started off with a quiz, then went to biochem, then went to a office hours. Then after that it was biostat,
In the office
then
hours, that's you as a TA helping people that need help or what?
yeah, so
Okay.
I run my own office hours on like yeah, I run my own office hours. There's 3 hours worth that I do. Two are Zoom, one is in person. And then I also run 2 laboratory sections.
Man, so like, do you have set schedule when you try to do social media stuff, like set days, set times, with as kind of rigid as everything is?
Yeah, if not everybody will catch this, but I wear the same clothes in all my videos for a reason. Um, every weekend I usually film as many videos as I humanly possibly can. And then after that, I just kind of post them throughout the week. And I'll edit them in the mornings while I'm
So
walking.
you do all the editing. You don't have no one else to help you edit? Man,
No.
why don't you don't want to outsource that at all?
I'm scared that it'll end up like being memes and stuff. Like I'm really particular. Like I want it to look like I like the citing and sometimes I'll cite things like I'll think of a study while I'm editing
Yeah.
and then I'll throw it in there. Um so that's why sometimes my videos can get a little bit like flash up, flash up, flash up, flash up because I literally like come up with some of the research and I look through, not come up with some of the research, but I think of a study. I'm like, oh, I should include that. So then I include it, and then it ends up being this giant flutter filled of stuff. But I do that so people can pause the video, take a screenshot, and look up the study themselves.
Yeah. Man. Like so what is your goal with the social media stuff? Like where do you see it going? Like what is your end goal with it?
Well, I mainly started it because that person who I knew with pancreatic cancer cachexia, when she was like at her weakest, she told me like there's nothing online that she can follow. Like everything seems to be like conflicting. And so she was like, if I follow this advice, I'm just gonna lose more weight because it's like this person's telling me not to eat sugar, this person's telling me not to eat saturated fat. What the hell do I do? Um, and although one of those is technically like correct in like the standard form in terms of like science, like still it's conflicting information. People are demonizing everything left and right. So for somebody who's losing a lot of weight and is like their muscles are atrophying, that's really bad. So I wanted to make a page that's kind of like a hub of things that, okay, if you're skeptical about information, you don't need to trust me, but trust the stuff that's on my screen and like take a screenshot of it, show it to your doctor if you're interested in the information. But like you don't need to trust me, and that's what I want to try to promote more.
Do you like do you see yourself having any kind of like coursing? Like I could see you doing something cool, like just like learning how to like interpret studies, like learning how to think critically for this stuff. I feel like so many people don't have that ability. I think you do pretty good at kind of demonstrating that ability. Like, do you have any end goals at all? Any courses or any ebooks, anything like that? I mean, you're just so busy; it's probably hard to think of it. But I mean, you have such a big following. I feel like anything you do could hit really well, you know?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I really would like to talk about how to read the literature. It just can get really nuanced because it's kind of field specific. So, like, if you're looking at literature in, like, let's say, quantum physics, I am not the person to go to for that. Like, don't ask me anything about physics. I actually despise physics. I have friends who love it. Good for them. Congratulations. You can like that field. I don't like, I keep me far away from physics. Biomechanics, sure, I like biomechanics. Anything physics, nope. But that's like it's field specific. So like physiology research is interpreted one way, cancer cachexia research interpreted one way, cancer research interpreted another way. So it can be a little bit difficult to like catch the nuances and like what methodology is good and standard. What methodology isn't good and standard? Is the field actually up to date with their practice? And those are sorts of questions that can be difficult to ask for somebody who's just trying to get started. But I would like to make a like maybe like a YouTube video playlist of that sort of stuff. I just would need a lot more time.
Yeah, no, long form is a bitch. You know, I think about like whenever I didn't have kids and like it's like shit, man, I could have just done so much. Even working like as much as I do without the kids, I could have built an empire by now. But so like everything gets knocked out in like those 2 days. What if you're not feeling it? Do you just fucking power through, or do you do something to get like in the right creative mood? Or some days do you just say I'm just not there. I got to hold off. I don't think it'll be the best content if I do put it out.
Yeah, kind of like this past week. I just basically didn't post. That's usually what happens. And if I don't post, then I'll come up with something at like 4:30. I have really bad like anxiety going to bed because I get up so early. So typically I'll like pass out on the couch and then wake up really early. And then I'll make some video and during that time. I'm curious how you get through all of your stuff with like a whole family. That must be so rough nowadays.
Well, it was really nice in the summer because a lot of people were, you know, where I live, people see you for 2 or 3 months. They're going to be traveling all over, so I was able to really focus a lot on it. But yeah, no, with my stuff, I've really found that if I'm in the right headspace, I got to just hammer through as much as I can because I don't know if I'm going to grab that again for a week or 2 weeks, and it has to be like different headspace. Like I mean, for like the technical stuff, I can kind of do that whenever, but especially if it's like I'm like critiquing or if I'm just bullshitting and like trying to have humor, like I got to be in the right state of mind to do that. Like I couldn't find humor and stuff if I was in a shitty head state. But luckily, like I don't like if I don't post, like whatever. I feel obligated to like my members. I have a good amount of like members that I make sure I don't really miss out on. But if I don't post to the general public, I'm like, whatever. You guys appreciate what I do put out there, and they all everyone who follows me like knows that I'm pretty fucking busy, and this is kind of the best I can do. But yeah, it is tricky when you start to feel like you have to, you're obligated. So luckily, I got like one a week. That's my workout that I feel obligated to do, and that's easy. I'll just record my workout and talk while I'm doing it. But yeah, it's interesting for sure. I'm curious to see like if anything changes for you as you start putting in more long form stuff. I feel like you definitely would have to get an editor at some point. I mean, I'm the same way. I can't have them really edit my stuff too much. I've had them do a few of them, but if they can like mimic your style, maybe they could save you some time. Even if it's like, what would you trade like 5% of it being what you want to be able to get it done like 10 times quicker, you know?
Oh, that's such a hard question. I don't know if I've asked people, hey, maybe like you can cut out the breathing spaces and stuff like that. That I think is about it. I like, but even then, like the amount of time it takes me to script a video and then go through it and then record it, that the Dr. Mike Israetel race video, even though it's only like what, 17 minutes long, it took me about 18 hours to make.
Yeah,
Like just not just like not editing. That was filming. It took
yeah.
me 18 hours to get through the entire script.
Uh,
Um, and then after that, it was like another 18 hours of editing, and it's a lot of like just brooding through hard work.
yeah, you would have to change your style for sure if you're doing longer form stuff. That would be brutal the way you're doing it with the little ones. So are you so you do get like a good exposure to people. I was worried you're just like lost in books and numbers and screens. So you're in school, you're doing TA. You and your boyfriend, like where you're at now, do you have like a good social like circle around you?
Yeah, we do. I don't necessarily promote it as much on like online just because like I don't want to promote like alcohol or like partying or anything like that. Every other week we'll go out. I don't really drink every week. I try to drink like maybe once a year, once every other year or so. That's
I
what
thought
it's
you were
been
gonna say
like.
like I don't drink every week, maybe like once or twice a month. I didn't expect to hear once every biannually.
I do try to like I if I can do it like once or twice a year or once every other year, then I'm happy. I have a duplex kidney, so like I literally get bad kidney pain whenever I drink. And yeah, it's nice to feel relaxed, but that's not always the best thing for like your actual health. And um yeah, either ways, I do go out. I have some friends. We've actually met a few people who know who I am as like just the scientific snitch. I've had people stop
Like
me on the
out,
street and
like
be
not in the
like,
gym, just like yeah, out. That's
yeah,
funny.
just out. And they're like, yeah, I loved your Dr. Mike video, all that other stuff. And some of them do actually become pretty good friends. And sometimes you'll see your students walking by. So I do get it. I have a pretty good social life. Me and Jackson go on like a date night at the gym, every Saturday, which is fun. Uh, like,
Are you able to get all your workouts in and shit? Like how often are you
yeah.
working out right now?
Oh, I work out, I want to say one, two, three. I work out 6 times a week.
Jeez, with your schedule. So when do you do it when you're so busy?
Usually at 6.
At night?
Oh, a.m.
Oh, okay. So you're up at 4:30, you work out first, and then you start everything else.
I usually have breakfast. So I'll have oatmeal or toast with eggs, and then I'll go to the gym. Um, it's been kind of a it's been kind of a pain in the ass lately because I have to bike and it's freezing.
Well, you had a bike. You have a car there?
I actually don't know how to drive.
You don't know how to drive. You're American, right? You
No.
weren't born in the Philippines. Where you? Wow. Okay, that's kind of wild. Was there a reason? Was it a
Yeah,
phobia
I grew up. No, I grew up in the city, so
in New York?
I only ever learned how to bike. So New York City, yeah,
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. That's cool. Like what suburb?
Brooklyn.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I went out there a couple years ago for my first time. Just tons of hipsters. I was in Williamsburg.
Oh,
I was
Williamsburg.
just below it. So I would like pass by like the most Orthodox Jewish people, with the setup, and then I would see some hipster dude like 2 blocks down. Just total dichotomy. So that's cool. Do you miss it over there at all?
Honestly, not at all.
Yeah.
Not
So that's either
even
how it is.
one
People
bit.
either like fucking want to go back or they're like I'm glad I'm gone.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm gone too. I am planning on getting a not a motorcycle, but like a cross between a moped and a motorcycle. I'm too much of a pussy to get the real thing.
You can still
Um,
kill yourself easy on that too, though.
yeah,
That'll be good enough.
I yeah, especially with glasses, I'm not trying to go full speed ahead. But there's a lot of like mopeds and stuff in the area where I'm at, so I was probably gonna get one just so that way I can bundle up and I don't need to worry about moving my legs.
How far of a bike ride is it?
It's like a 15-minute bike ride from not necessarily, I have an e-bike. So like to be fair, I can cut that 15 minutes down to like 5 minutes and like 10 minutes, depending on where I'm trying to go. So it's not too bad. but it's definitely not great when it's like
Yeah,
freezing.
freezing your balls off. That's funny. Yeah, that's wild. I'm in California. It's like the exact opposite. Like it would make sense if you didn't have to drive everywhere. But yeah, we're a driving area over here in SoCal. So I got a couple questions we'll go over in a second. But yeah, so I saw you post something about Halloween. Was that like a sponsor thing, or is Halloween really like your favorite holiday?
Oh, Halloween is my favorite holiday. I'm not like I'm not religious, so like I don't celebrate any kind of like I celebrate it with my family, obviously, because all of them are Catholic, and like I'm not some antisocial like hiding in some little hole in the wall type of person. Like I'm happy to hang out with my friends and family. Plus the Thanksgiving dinners and like the holiday dinners are always so fun because like big Italian family, big Filipino family.
Right, good mix
Um,
of food. Do you do both food sets?
oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
badass holidays. Um, but like I love Halloween. I think it's so fun to see everybody in like costumes, and it was my favorite holiday as a kid, so
Are y'all dressing up this year?
I wish I was. I'm probably just gonna wear this and then I'll be like to my te all of my students love it when I wear this because I'm technically an anatomy TA. So like I teach like the skeleton and stuff. So like it's kind of the perfect sweater to wear. But I was planning on doing Cheshire Cat because I have the most Cheshire Cat smile, I think.
Is your boyfriend's not going to do something with that, right? He's not gonna, you're not going to do a combo if you're a Cheshire cat. He's not going to be cat, is he?
Probably not. He tried on my Audentia tank top this morning and he looked very funny. Because it was like it was short, so he had like a crop top. I wouldn't be
Hey,
surprised
that
if
used to be popular back in the day in golds in the early 90s. You see the little half tank tops. Have you guys done like the couple thing in the past? What have you been before?
uh we actually haven't celebrated Halloween or anything like that for a while. We were really like busy for like the first few years of our relationship because we were both like when we were in crunch, we were both like personal trainers, and the personal trainers did a lot of like cleaning as well. Then after that, when he was building up his business and I was building up my business back there, it was like it was pretty rough in terms of like finances.
Were y'all like long
So,
distance at that time?
no, we
Uh,
lived together.
no, I mean
Um,
the whole time. So y'all were never long distance.
oh no, we were long distance for a little bit.
Uh, I'm surprised you don't get out for like the one night. That's your favorite holiday. Just dress up. I mean, you could be a lot of cool stuff. I'm trying to think what me and my girl have done. We've been through eight. This will be eight. Fuck, no way. Hold on. So this will be seven. Okay, good. Jesus Christ. Yeah, we did the Cowboys. We did like the '80s trainers. That was a fun one. And then what else did we do? The Pirates, like the most cliche ones ever.
That's awesome. Yeah, I gotta drag Jackson out and I'll have him dress up as something at some point. Yeah, that'll probably be when once I'm a little bit freer and not being paid.
Do you have a
Survivable
timeline
cats.
at all when you're like life's gonna be yours again? You're just gonna be super busy
Oh
for like two,
boy.
3 years.
I don't really know what my long-term goals are. If I try to go into the industry, so like big pharma, I'll probably have to do another 2 years or 5 years of postdoc, which that is going to be fun. So fun, right after my PhD. Um, but I am gunning for a PhD, and then after that, probably postdoc, and then wherever I end up, maybe academia, maybe industry, I don't know.
But does that ever like chill out, or is it all so like time like intensive, or does you have like when you're getting your PhD or whatever, are you able to like have a little bit more you time, or is that still just as much time teaching and going to class and doing labs, all that stuff?
Once I'm done with classes, it'll be a lot more research focused. So like going out on weekends and stuff will be a lot more easier for me.
Like your
Um,
master's, once you're done with your master's?
well, the master's technically it's integrated with the PhD. So like once I'm done with classes, I can just say, "Hey, I'm changing to the PhD track." And then everything's like over to the PhD. So that's what I meant by like it's integrated. So technically, I like I'm working towards a PhD because that's the goal in my head. But on paper, I'm a master's student.
Would you like
So
be so
like
disappointed with yourself if you didn't get a PhD for some reason?
uh yeah, I'm very competitive. Um I saw that you could get a 4.33 GPA at my school and I'm gunning for it. And I got so down on myself that I got a 24 out of 25 on an exam that yeah, I'm the kind of like I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to that stuff, but yeah, I get really hard on myself. So yeah, I would be pretty sad about it, but I don't think that I'm gonna have I
Hey, we saw Mike. It's gonna be easy as fuck for you. Like,
well,
know your school might have a little bit more rigorous like
oh
screening
yeah.
process, but I'm sure. So were you like so how do you feel now after last time I talked to you when you didn't get accepted to the school where you were at? Like I'm sure you went through like a little bit like you're kind of bummed, but did it turn out better for any reason? Are you glad? Like where are you at now with that?
I'm actually glad. I ended up at one of my dream labs. I knew people from here. The first mentor I had graduated from here. So, like, I honestly feel like I ended up at a better place with a really amazing mentor. Um, and everything kind of is going really well for me. So, like, yeah, a PhD is going to be really difficult and getting through it is going to be very hard, but I know it's going to be rewarding at the very end of it. And honestly, I can't wait to have a published dissertation that I can share with everybody and be very proud of. In fact, when I do have it, and I will come back to this video and I will screen record it and I'll like take it back 5 years later and I'll say, I'm pinning this to the top of my page once it's published. So everything that I
Yeah,
do,
tag
like,
Solomon, let him go through it. Let everyone see. Nothing to
oh
hide.
yeah,
That's fine.
gladly, because I am going to work my butt off to make sure that it's something that it is the work of my life. I want it to be something I'm really proud of.
Yeah, I'm glad you're happy now the way things worked out. It's it's cliche, but it's like when you are doing like good things and you're doing what your like true heart and intent is, like things just they fucking line up, you know, as long as you're putting good shit out there and you're not like an asshole, I feel like. So let's go through a couple questions real quick if you got a second. I had a few of
Go
them.
for
So
it.
most of them blow, but some of them would be kind of interesting to get your perspective since we have a little different lens for things. So like for this one, for example, so um well, what they're saying is, so as someone with a narrow ISA, should I avoid hinges so as not to mess up my squat? So we can kind of reframe this. Just like if you're really, really built for like squats and those are like amazing for you and you feel so good, but you're not like comfortable doing hinges, should he avoid hinges so it doesn't mess up his mechanics or his squats? Like, how would you approach this when someone's really structurally good at one move, but they're not structurally good in another? How do you recommend that they implement that, or do they avoid it? Like something I always think about is like you need a percentage of things that just go with what you're good at, especially if your goal is to like build muscle, because you're going to be really efficient at that. But you need some percentage of things that you're maybe not good at or go against your archetype from my lens, just to
Yeah.
keep some movement variability and options in there, even if you're not as good at producing a hypertrophic response potentially. So just curious, what are your thoughts on that?
I would say I don't look at exercises as the exercise. I look at them as movement patterns. So maybe a barbell squat is not something that tickles his fancy. Maybe he doesn't like that in terms of like how it feels. But maybe doing something like a leg press or for me, a belt squat is like what I personally enjoy. Like I don't like doing a lot of leg press stuff because I have really hypermobile knees. So I'm constantly terrified I'm gonna like back like I'm gonna have one of those like nightmare
Yeah.
gif moments where my knees snap back on me. So like if he doesn't like squats, then try a leg press, try a belt squat, try a Smith machine squat, try like lunges. So there's a bunch of different things you can do to get a similar outcome. So I think that would be my advice.
Yeah, I mean, and he was asking about hinges particularly, but same concept.
Yeah, same
Replace it with a
idea.
gate, like a hyperextension. A lot of times you just gotta give yourself more references too. Like you could be really good at squatting free weight because you don't need any reference, but then when you're hinging, you need more points of contact just because it's just not the motion your body is the best at producing naturally. So, here's a question. I had a lot of these, so. It's interesting because me and you have talked about some of the stuff like Ben has said and some of the nuances of biomechanics and how things they change even if you don't realize they're changing. So this question was, what are your thoughts on like the expansion compression model? Are you familiar with that? Some of the shit that I talk about at all?
I'm actually not familiar about like what's the expansion compression model?
I mean, I made a video on it recently to try to like dumb it down for, not that you would need to dumb down for like the general people that don't have any background in anything, but I mean essentially if you don't know, it's gonna be a hard question to answer, but it's just looking at things not just isolated in terms of moment arms and torque and lever arms, all that bullshit. It's taking account the way things integrate together, to produce an end
Oh,
result.
so like reaction forces, right?
Yeah, kind of like how you were looking at it through that lens, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if you're talking about, and I'm
Like
assuming
you can
like
think of it like
experiencing
maybe this will
compression.
help. Maybe this will help you a little bit. Like in terms of like how some people oversimplify certain things in terms of anatomy. Like how is your lens? Like how do you look at some of that stuff when people are just making it just about only moment arms and torque and nothing else?
Yeah, that's a big problem. Uh, so for example, one that I like to talk about a lot is scapulohumeral rhythm. Uh, yeah, so ligaments do play a role in movement because they can help resist forces from like muscles. And then you also have multiple different muscles pulling at different joints. So it's difficult to tell how much something is directly contributing to something when you go past the main joint that that muscle moves. So I like as far as like I guess I'm assuming the expansion compression model would be referring to how joints can compress
It kind
and
of just takes
kind
into
of
account of everything compresses, right? So
yeah.
your joints, your heart, your lungs, but also the muscles and the pelvis and rib cage. Yeah, like everything inside of us.
Yeah, I think that that's a pretty good way to look at things. And like you can look at each individual factor on its own and you can like say, okay, this movement is favorable for X factor. This movement is favorable for Y factor. Like maybe one movement's more stable than another. But it's not the entire picture or the entire story, and that is definitely important to acknowledge.
Let's see anything else good. Alberto had a good one. I might have actually already asked it. Let me see what he said. So you should,
Oh,
yeah, you
yeah.
should, you should definitely follow Alberto. He's a fucking awesome dude. So he said, in all my years, I've only seen one person play the role of science slash health vigilante. Hold on, I have to go to my messages. It was too long. Okay,
I already like how that's starting off.
the vigilante not have the role. Oh, yeah, this is exactly what I asked you. Not have the role decay their mental health over time. What measures are you taking to ensure the online conflicts you choose to nobly engage in don't erode your well-being? So we kind of touched
Um,
on it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a pretty resilient person in that regard. Like I have Jackson to lean back on whenever I get too stressed out. Um, we also like to dial down at like the end of the night. We always watch one episode of like One Punch Man and stuff like that.
Is that, do you watch anime or that's the only one?
Oh, I love anime. Actually, that's one of the few animes I haven't watched. But stuff like, for example, like Another is one of my favorite ones. I have like both books in the background there. I gotta watch the movie for Demon Slayer. It's fantastic. But like, anime is one way. Watching movies and watching shows. We just finished Gen V, which is a pretty good
Oh
show.
yeah, I'm in like episode 3 or 4.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly good. I didn't expect a lot because I hate when shows and things get too like they try
Yeah.
to be political, but this they actually had a good
It,
balance of it.
yeah, it does it pretty well.
Yeah.
That
So
was so
like watching
sad, right? That kid that died, that they're having to do all the,
oh my God.
that's actually having like to call back on that fucking, that's fucking terrible.
Yeah. So yeah, watching shows definitely is one. I like to walk and like I go to the gym regularly for that as well. And I also like I I started off social media a lot more peppy and like trying to get views. Now I even though I still get like a lot of views, I'm not always trying to anymore, which I think is it's received better. Obviously, it's not always received the best by people, but like not screaming at the camera like a psychopath. Um,
Dude, you should
now
just go the opposite and do like the Aubrey Plaza, just total deadpan. I could see you doing that. That'd be hilarious, actually.
I might actually start doing that more often. I try to do that. Like, for example, in my like most recent video, I'm like very calm and collected. And that's like that's even though it's not the most eye-grabbing, like catching thing in the world, it definitely makes it a lot easier for people to like watch. And it makes it a lot harder to hate on that kind of content.
Yeah.
And I don't see a lot of like it's not justifiably hate. Like when I see a hate comment on something like that, I'm like, yeah, you're literally just hating to hate. Like,
Yeah.
clearly, I'm speaking very calmly. I'm not like attacking the person. I'm literally just addressing the misinformation. So, if you have a problem with that, just unfollow me. And at that point, it's like, It's not that big of a deal at that point.
Do you block people? Like, what does someone have to do to get blocked by you?
Um,
I know you're not like Paul Carter. It takes a little
oh
bit to get blocked.
no, I do my best not to block people. Sometimes I'll restrict somebody if they're spamming my comment section with misinformative like things.
Yeah.
So, for example, I had somebody like spamming that alcohol was healthy in my comment section. I'm like, shut up. So that's when I'll restrict you. I rarely block people. I think I've only blocked I blocked the guy who took a photo of me and Jackson, because I was fucking creepy. There was one guy who kept DMing me, "Do you want to see my that?" And I'm sorry, I can't do that for 3 months. And they literally DM'd me that every other week for
Oh,
like three
I thought it
months
was every
straight.
day. He wasn't trying that hard. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, that's ridiculous. So you,
Yeah,
if they're like demeaning to you and they call you like little girl, you still don't block them. That's pretty cool.
yeah. If they call me that enough times and they comment like blocks of texts on my posts, I'll end up restricting them. But I don't block people like that.
Yeah, that's cool. This is interesting. I feel like you have some knowledge on most things, even if it's not your specialty. So maybe you got some input on this. How does weed affect bodybuilding? Weed slash THC.
Oh God. I'm not gonna lie, I actually am not that educated on that. I'm educated on artificial uh, cannabinoids, a little bit, but not that well. So I can't, I'm sorry, man. I wish I knew more.
What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's like it's a net negative or net positive for somebody? Have you ever smoked and worked out? You probably don't smoke at all. You're a fucking scientist. You probably can't smoke that much.
Yeah, no, I've only ever I think I've only had some once a very, very long time ago.
That is so true.
Um, but like I haven't I don't smoke. I would say that if you're smoking it versus an edible, the edible is probably better for your health than the smoke. And if you had to compare it to drinking, I would put edible, smoking weed, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, in terms of like this is the worst for your health, this is the best. But like, let's be honest, it's probably not that good for your health either. So
Yeah.
I don't know all the stuff on it, but if I had to wager, vices typically aren't good for you. Uh, Binging on food, binging on alcohol, drinking alcohol, smoking. If I had to wager, I would say it's probably not good for you, but I don't know all the literature on it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people they'll feel more connected. What I've told people before is like with like weed and marijuana, like THC, it's like I definitely think it's terrible for any kind of skill or knowledge acquisition. Like it's like you will not retain it, and like if you're trying to do something that you're not like skilled at, you're gonna suck at it. But if you're like a pro at something and you think it like allows you to connect better, like sometimes what I can see happening is it almost increases your pain threshold to like a little bit. I think on certain things, so maybe some people are able to push past discomfort a little bit more. But it's funny. Like I mean, I smoke a lot, but it's like I don't do it to reach some enlightenment like peace of mind before I start working. I smoke weed because I'm fucking anxious and I don't want to think about death all the time. So but it's not really like a workout thing for me. So wow. So you're pretty straight edge with everything, huh? Have you ever gone on like a crazy bender when you were younger?
Uh, I'm also a very big lightweight. So I have, so when I first met Jackson, we had like this 4th of July party and I did drink a little too much that night. Um, so like, I guess that was the most I've ever drank in my
Were you
life.
puking in front of him?
No, I never gotten that far. But I don't remember anything from that night.
That's funny.
So like there's that. But yeah, I I guess my biggest vice was I actually used to have an eating disorder, so
Yeah, I remember. I didn't know what ED was. I was like, why is this girl talking about boners? I'm confused.
yeah, so I guess that would be my biggest vice that I had for a while.
Do you have any of that
Um,
mindset still at all, or is it like totally gone? Like when you're eating, do you ever like think, oh shit, I did too much this weekend, I need to restrict a little bit, or like you're totally in a good spot there?
I mean, I didn't have Anna like oh, I didn't have Anna in that sense. Like I didn't have the I
Yeah.
wasn't like starving myself in that sense. I tried to, and then I fell into purging. So, like the majority of my time I had a disorder, it was purging, and it's very addictive. It's almost like being addicted to a substance. So I've had thoughts of it before, and like the reality is that eating disorder mentality, it doesn't leave you, and it kind of stays with you for the rest of your life, which
It's like any
sucks,
addict
but
mentality, kind of, right?
it just stays with you, and it's like that little demon in the back of the corner that kind of rears its ugly head whenever you get stressed, which is why I try to do my best to really like manage my stress that I have.
Yeah, it's gotta be hard as a rational thinker too. Like when you're thinking irrationally and you know it, like that really bothers me. Whenever I'm like I know I'm feeling a certain way that makes no sense, and I can't not think of that or feel that way. That for me, that's the most frustrating aspect of my personality. This is interesting. I'll be interested to get your take because with the hypermobility, what do you think about static stretching, essentially?
I love static stretching for when I'm not about to go exercise. If I'm about to go exercise, I won't stretch because that just makes my joints even looser. And that's not a fun thing. But before the end of the night, if I'm trying to, there's like stretches you can do to help get things moving. Like if you're really feeling like you're feeling bloated and you're not feeling that great. So there's stretches you can do for that. So like those sorts of scenarios I enjoy. And it also does help you feel a little bit like sometimes your joints just, especially if you're like working in a lab all day, like you're always hunched over. So it's definitely nice at the end of the night.
Do you have any general recommendations for people at all? Do you kind of let them, because it's such a weird thing. Like there's some people that are like stretching is just amazing. It's so underrated. Like it's like people think of it as this negative thing. And then there's some people like stretching will make you lose all your strength. Don't do it at all. Like in the ECM world, like a lot of people aren't that big on stretching because a lot of the tension you feel in your muscle can be, you can change the length dynamics by changing your axial skeletal position, but I'm still a big fan of stretching for certain things. It can be tricky in some cases, right? Because it's like maybe you feel like you need to stretch something, and that's in a position that like maybe is getting pulled, and you're pulling it more by stretching. So I think sometimes it can help to know your body and know what you're actually doing when you're stretching. Like for example, like people want to do their hamstrings, right? And they'll just lean over and they're just maybe doing their back, and they're not getting actual hamstring stretch like they think they're getting their back, which could be good. But what about just in general for the average gym bro who's tight? Like, how do you think they should do it if they like it? Do you recommend they do it if they don't like it? What are your thoughts?
I think that if you're consistent with it, then it doesn't become a problem for your biomechanics. Because if you're consistent with it, let's be real, you're not going to be stretching your biceps brachii 180 degrees this way because it's not going to move past. It's not going to move past um your olecranon, so or your elbow. So it's you can't
Yours
stretch
might.
this.
Where'd yours go?
Yeah, like you can't do that. Same thing, like there's always limitations to your joints. So if you just stretch on a consistent basis and you get to a point where you are pretty flexible, you're not really going to go past that much and you're not going to harm your ability to move. Um, and yeah, if you have a pulled muscle, don't stretch. That's kind of like 101. Like don't push something past its limits if you're already injured. But generally speaking, if you stretch all of the muscles of your body, like there's a little routine of different things that I'll do, like whenever I stretch. And if you do it consistently, it shouldn't like impair your ability to train.
Nice. Okay, I think I got. Man, some of these just when you're so general, right? So you probably get so many stupid questions asked to you.
Oh
Um,
man.
yeah, I get pretty specific ones. As I got a little bigger, I'll get some random ones. But this is kind of interesting. Maybe we'll finish on this question. Are there any benefits to exercises targeting the specific bicep heads? So I guess like specifically targeting different ones in your workout.
Uh, as far as specifics go, I mean, you could probably do something that's I don't really bias but like I don't bias the heads of my bicep. I just do curls. Like I'm gonna be honest. I probably have more of a gym bro-y type exercise routine than most people realize. Um, like I'm not biasing heads of my muscles. I literally don't have time for that. So I just do like an hour and I'll do bicep curls. I prefer doing like one-armed, like just regular ass curls with a dumbbell. Um, but like whatever you really like doing, just do that. I don't see a need to go that deep until you're super advanced. And 9 times out of 10, most people don't need to be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to think of it as the specific heads, but I would just say
Yeah.
it's good to just to train in different shapes. You know what I mean? So it's like if I'm gonna do a curl where I'm on a preacher and I'm got my elbows in front of me, I'm shoulder flexion, that's a different scapula position, that's a different humeral position than if I were to do an incline curl or a cable curl or something like that. So I think there's benefits to changing like where the compression gradient's coming from, just so you don't always close off the same joint space, don't always use the same kind of recruitment patterns. If you're a basic average beginner and you're doing just three sets of curls, like I don't think it matters at all. But as you're doing anything, I think it's important to change different positions. Like I wouldn't want to press from one set only, and that's ever it. I'd want to, hit a little different angles, potentially change the arc, whether I'm reaching or whether I'm, retract the shoulders. So I think there's benefits to changing your position overall, whether that's the scapula, some of the ribs, some of the humerus. But I don't necessarily think you got to try like bias specific heads. It's gonna be hard to tell exactly what you're doing if that's it. So I mainly think of almost different scapula positions. You can kind of think of it when I'm doing curls.
Yeah, I could see that. The more you do, like if biceps are really a weak point for you, doing one or two different variations, not gonna hurt you.
And I think that, like I said, I think that with everything. I think if you only squat, this is even like what Louis Simmons did with his guys. Like if you only squat one way, even if you're a power lifter and you only get tested one way, they start to lose the ability. Like it's just change little variations, little different squat stances, maybe the implement, but just little tiny, tiny things. I know Andy Galpin. Are you a fan of him at all?
No, I'm out of touch with
I don't
reality.
either. I just know he talked about the like hyper specific nature and how being over specific with your training can have kind of obviously long-term effects. It was interesting. That was one of the first people I ever heard talk about it from a science perspective, because then you got guys like Louis in the trenches who've intuitively seen that and known that for a while. So cool.
I could see how that could happen. Like there is a level of specificity that is important. Like shocking the muscle doesn't really happen. Like
Yeah,
that's not really a thing. So staying consistent with something is good, but having some variation in your program is also important because there are certain movements, like for example, leg extension and like leg press, which are differentially working different parts of your quad. So it's definitely important to have some variation in there.
nice. Cool. I think those were all the good questions that we got. The all the halfway decent ones. Nice. Well, appreciate your time. Is there anything else you want to put out? Like what's going on?
Uh, not nothing much else. I mean, I wish you the best with your family and I guess the best overall. I'm assuming you're very, very busy with like all your coaching going on, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. I love my in-person people that I've had for like they're all at least a decade now. And then I get I get the change of pace in person with the referrals from the PTs that I work with, and then people will fly. I get more of the bodybuilders that fly out to see me. So it's a good mix in the online stuff. I just got to figure out some way to like have more hours in the day, and I'll be all set.
Yeah, that is
I'm
always the
sure you
problem.
feel the same way for sure.
Yep, hours in the day, always not enough.
Thank you so much for your time. I hope you start doing a little more of the long form when you get the time. Like I said, I think that will give you a whole new like because there's a lot of crossover on TikTok and Instagram. I think YouTube's like a totally different thing as far as the audience goes and as far as like people that are like into you. You know what I mean? Like they'll be like
Yeah.
the biggest fans are the YouTubers compared to the other ones.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see that. I need to get back into YouTube. It's so difficult.
All good. You're doing plenty. So thanks so much, hon. I'll keep watching, see what you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me on. I hope you have a good rest of your night.
Nice. Take it easy.